second chapter of economic survey, and there are a few things that you have to pay attention in the second chapter. First of all, if you look in the screen, we will be talking about inflation and monetary policy today. Okay, so focus will be on inflation, monetary policy, or monetary or banking sector of India. We'll understand what is CPI. All right, we'll also try to understand, like, what is inflation properly, what is headline inflation, and all these terms we'll understand in this class. So from the document, we are jumping to the third section, that is inflation and monetary or banking sector. Fine. So what is inflation? First of all, first topic we'll start is what is inflation? What can you understand by inflation?
Sort of price rise in a short period of time.
Yeah, the rise of price. Okay, prices of what? Prices of
goods and services.
Goods and services. Okay, when it rises, and the purchasing power of the currency falls, that is inflation. So there are two conditions for an inflation. Number one, the general level of prices of goods and services is rising, plus the purchasing power of currency is falling. That is inflation. Now, if generally only price rise happen of goods and services, that's not inflation directly. The currency also has to fall. Okay, fall means in purchasing power. Okay, the currency cannot afford. For example, in few years back, like 100 rupees could bring you a lot of things. Now we get only one or two things at the max. Okay, fine. So those type of scenario is there. Okay, that is inflation. Okay, inflation is a critical macroeconomic indicator. Okay, inflation is a macroeconomic indicator which reflects the health and stability of an economy. Now there are different types of inflation, but before we jump to that, we will understand some related concepts. For example, deflation. Deflation is opposite of inflation. So if inflation has price rise of goods and services and the currency is falling, deflation is the opposite of it. Okay, deflation is the opposite of it, meaning the price of things, goods and services are going down and the purchasing power is healthy, all right, or rising. That is deflation.
Sir, screen to present hoana niki sir? Moi dekha poa nai, ne mor network e beya niki sir?
I hope everyone can see the screen. Rest of you?
Yes, sir.
Mo network beya ase sir. Moi take care korisu sir.
Okay. So deflation means the opposite of inflation, right? Then there is a related term called disinflation. Disinflation means a slowdown in the rate of inflation, meaning prices are still rising but at a very slow pace. Okay, it's growing, the prices of things are growing at a very slow pace. That is disinflation, meaning it is still inflation. Okay, then stagflation. What is stagflation? A rare, undesirable economic condition with high inflation, high unemployment, and stagnant economic growth. Okay, stagflation means rare, undesirable economic condition with high inflation, high unemployment, and stagnant economic growth. Then there is reflation. What is reflation? It is the measures, okay? It is the measures to increase the price level, often after a period of deflation. So after a period of deflation, the government might take measures, certain measures to increase the prices of things. That is reflation. Okay, reflation. Then there is another concept called core inflation. Core inflation excludes volatile components like food and energy prices. Okay, they exclude in their calculation. It is a type of inflation where the prices of food and energy prices are excluded, okay, are excluded in the calculation. All right. And the next one is headline inflation. Headline inflation means all components, okay, all components meaning all goods and services, all things are taken into consideration to see the total inflation experience in the country, okay, to see the total experience of inflation in the country. Fine. Okay, now Harlongbi, tell me what is disinflation?
Sir, it's the opposite of inflation, sir.
Disinflation?
Oh, sorry, sir. It's the inflation is still rising, but there is unemployment is very low, and the
No.
price is still rising.
Yes, inflation is still rising at a very slow pace. That is disinflation. Okay, that is disinflation. Fine, that is disinflation. What about, I'll ask Vaishali, what is stagflation?
Sir, when there is high inflation and high unemployment and stagnant economic growth.
Yeah, that is called stagflation. All right, good. What about headline inflation, Klarmir? What is headline inflation?
Sir, could not hear this headline inflation.
Headline inflation. Anyone wants to try? Moan, do you want to try what is headline inflation? Inflation.
Sir, I don't know.
Okay. Fine. Let's revise it again. So as you can see, inflation means where prices of commodities rise, prices of goods and services rise, and the value of money goes down. Deflation means that is the opposite of inflation, where prices of things also go down and the money value goes up. Disinflation means there is inflation, but the prices of things are rising at a very slow pace. Stagflation means it is one of the rare or undesirable condition where there is high inflation, as well as there is high unemployment and all those things. Okay, there is high employment and a lot of, who's trying to join? Okay. There is high inflation and high unemployment in stagflation. Also, the economy is stagnant. That is why it's called stagflation. Reflation means measures. Reflations are measures by government or RBI to increase the price of the things. Okay, so that after a period of deflation, so that after a period of deflation, we want to increase the price of the things, okay, to stimulate economic activity. Core inflation, it will exclude all the volatile components like food and energy prices. What are volatile components? Can anyone tell me? Volatile components. What do you understand by volatile components?
Sir, supply.
Volatile components are those components that fluctuates with prices, okay, that keeps fluctuating with prices every day. Like food prices can go up all of a sudden, right? Price of onion can go up all of a sudden, right? Fuel prices now, as of now, we are touching 105 right now. It goes up and down. So those are volatile components in an economy. So core inflation, when we calculate core inflation, we don't consider these volatile components in the calculation like food and energy prices. Okay, we don't calculate these volatile components. However, headline inflation means including all the components, including volatile and non-volatile components all together, to see the total inflation experience in a country or by the customers. Okay, so these are related concepts of your inflation. Okay, these are related concepts. Please mark this definitions in your notebook, and please keep remembering this. This will be important. Okay, now let's do the types of inflation. Okay, types of inflation. Inflation can be based on causes, speed, as well as scope. Okay, three things inflations are based on three things: causes, speed, and scope. Number one, when we do inflation based on causes, the first type we have is demand pull inflation. Yesterday we discussed a little bit about demand pull inflation. What is it? When in an economy the aggregate demand goes up rather than supply, when demand outpaces supply, that is called demand pull inflation. All right, that is called demand pull inflation. Why does it happen? When there is more money supply in the economy, when government spends a lot for development or infrastructure, when consumer have a lot of confidence in their money and export is happening in the country, we see demand pull inflation. For example, during Durga Puja, let's just say during Durga Puja, there are certain goods where demand rises. What are those goods during Durga Puja? Can anyone tell me? What rises? What demand rises during Durga Puja?
Sweets.
Clothing.
Uh-huh.
Sweets.
No. During Durga Puja, you have this electronic sales. You don't remember? And right around Durga Puja, gold demand also goes up. Okay, Dhanteras they call it in North India, right? So if you look around the streets of Guwahati during Durga Puja, the demand for electronics like AC or a washing machine, all those electronics, the demand goes up because the companies reduce the prices for certain time. Okay, then the demand for gold rises during Dhanteras. Why demand for gold rises during that time? Like, it is related with religion. Okay, Hindu religion. Okay, so that is why the gold prices rises. So during a festive season, certain demand for certain goods rises. Okay, leading to price hikes. Okay, leading to price hikes also all across. So after a festive season, after Dhanteras, the gold prices again shoots up. All right, it goes up. It is unaffordable for many. All right, so that is demand pull inflation. Okay, when demand is more than supply, that is demand pull inflation. Now for you, important to remember is why this happens. Okay, this part, drivers. What drives demand pull inflation? Number one, there is more money supply in an economy. Government is spending more. Okay, then consumer has a lot of confidence in their money. Okay, whatever they're earning, they have confidence, meaning they can spend more, and export is booming in the country. That is why we have demand and pull inflation. Okay, fine, you understood demand and pull inflation. That is based on cost, number one. Cost number two, based on cost push inflation. What is this cost push inflation? It is an increase in the cost of production, which producers passes on to consumers. Meaning, when the price of certain things in the production level goes up, the producer, those who are producing, they increase the price in MRP. Okay, how is it caused? First of all, it is caused by when there is a wage demand by the workers. When they say we need more pay, that's when they increase it. So their production is going up if salary hike is there or wage hike is there. When the raw materials are priced at higher prices, When the raw materials, when they get the raw materials, it's at high prices. For example, crude oil, like right now what is happening in the world, crude oil is becoming expensive. That is why cost of production for many things in the country has gone up. That is why even the farmers have to increase their prices for onions, potatoes, tomatoes, okay, because raw materials like crude oil are hampering the prices or impacting the prices. Then there is supply shocks. What is a supply shock? Anyone can tell me what is a supply shock? What do you understand by supply shock?
Sir, I think when there more than the demand.
Supply shock? You're trying good, at least.
If there is shortage of supply, if there is shortage of a supply,
I mean, not necessarily, okay? Not only shortages. Sometimes, what if the supply is more, okay? What if the supply is more, okay? That also can be a supply shock, okay? Shock means just shock, like, you suffer from certain impact. For example, if the supply is more also and no one is buying, that is also a supply shock. And if the supply is less and people are demanding, that is also a shock, okay? So it is not necessarily negative always, all right? So because of this reason and natural disasters, we have cost push inflation. So if in our country there is a bad monsoon for a season, we know what happens to the prices of commodities, of farming commodities. For example, potato, rice, it goes up, the prices go up, okay? All right. So for example, a sudden increase in global crude oil prices raises transportation costs, which is impacted by prices of all goods. So if transportation cost goes up, the producers have to increase their prices, okay? Anything. Now even in restaurants, right? LPG is not there. We are not getting proper supply of LPG. Mostly we depend from the Middle East, the West Asia countries. So what is happening in the restaurants in Guwahati? They are increasing their prices in the menu by 10, 15 rupees, or some even up to 20, 25 to 50 rupees also, right? Why? Because there is a supply shock. Supply of what? Supply of raw materials. What is their raw materials for a restaurant? LPG gas, okay? So that is raising the prices of everything, okay? That is cost push inflation, okay? Cost versus push inflation, okay? The third type of inflation based on causes is built-in inflation, okay? Built-in inflation, also known as wage price spiral, also known as wage price spiral, okay? Now what is this? When there is expectations of future inflation that leads to worker to demand higher wages, okay? It is just an expectation, first of all. When the workers understand that, okay, in future inflation is coming, when they expect, so they started demanding higher wages, because of which the companies or the firms have to pass on this demand into the prices, okay? Has to pass on this demand into the prices. So it is a self-fulfilling cycle, meaning it is done by on its own, okay? There is no there is no other external factors. It is just an expectation. The laborers or the workers, they thought like, oh, inflation is coming, we need to ask for a hike, otherwise we'll suffer in the inflation. So because of that expectation, the companies have to pass on the prices to their products, okay? So what are the drivers? Very simply, the drivers are adaptive expectations and strong labor unions. Okay, because of strong labor unions and expectations of the labor unions, the prices go up. So that is built-in inflation or related with wage price spiral. Okay, so for example, if workers expect 5% inflation next year, they will start demanding 5% wage hike. Okay, wage hike, and this will lead to the companies to raise their prices by 5%. Okay, so they have to accommodate this increase. So that is why this is built-in inflation. So three types based on causes we have done. The first classification based on causes, demand pull, cost push, and built-in inflation. Quickly tell me, Prince Rongchan, what is wage spiral or wage price spiral inflation?
স্যার মই তেতিয়া পৰা প্ৰেজেন্টেড স্ক্ৰিনে দেখা নাই ফাৰ্ষ্ট ক্লাছৰ পৰা
এতিয়াও স্ক্ৰীন দেখা নাই নেকি?
নাই স্যাৰ দেখাই পোৱা নাই তেতিয়া পৰা মই তাৰ কাৰণে বেলেগ একাউণ্টত ট্ৰাই কৰিছিলোঁ কিন্তু সেইটোও হোৱা নাই
Okay, I'll do one thing. Wait. Okay, cost push inflation. All right. So these are the types of inflation based on your causes. They are directly related with cause. Okay, some causes are there. For example, in demand pull, it was increased money supply or higher government spending, or when there is export, or when people have confidence in their money, demand pull inflation happens. Cost pull inflation happens, cost push inflation happens because of wage increase in the factories, in the working conditions. When the raw material prices go up, when there is supply shock or natural disasters. Built-in inflation or wage price spiral happens because of expectation of labor and their unions. Okay, because of that. So these are causes, okay, which causes inflation. So that is why the first classification is based on clauses. The second type, let's come, inflation can be classified based on speed also. So let's understand based on speed. What are the types of inflation based on speed or rate? The number one type of this classification is creeping or mild inflation. Creeping or mild inflation means when inflation rate is between 0 to 3%. Okay, when inflation rate is below in between 0 to 3%, that is called creeping or mild inflation. Okay, which is considered healthy, by the way. Okay, which is considered healthy. A little bit of inflation is needed in our economy, right? Then there is walking or trotting inflation. When the rate is between 3% to 10%, okay, that is called walking or trotting. So the speed is increasing. First was creeping, slowly it's creeping, then walking. Okay, so this is walking is a warning sign. Okay, walking is a warning sign in an economy. If inflation is going in the range of 3 to 10%, it is a warning sign. Okay, so it can be problematic if not controlled. Then there is running or galloping. So first the inflation started creeping, then started walking, and now is full on running. When the rate of inflation is 10 to 20% or even more, this is an economic issue, a serious economic issue, and purchasing power in this period goes down rapidly. So people cannot buy anything. Okay, people can, they can buy, but the prices go up rapidly. Okay, and the money value goes down. Then there is hyperinflation, the last one, where the rate of inflation is often 50% or more. Okay, 50% or more per month. Every month, if it's 50% above, that is hyperinflation. So total economic collapse happened during this period, and currency become worthless. For example, Weimar Republic and Zimbabwe has faced hyperinflation. Anyone knows what was Weimar Republic? Modern world history.
So Germany.
Okay, the former Germany. Okay, former Germany after World War I. All right, That was Weimar Republic, okay? And Zimbabwe in modern times also suffered through this problem, hyperinflation problem, okay? Hyperinflation problem. So I hope this is very easy. Based on speed, inflation is very, very easy. Remember the rates, okay? Remember the rates. When is it creeping? When is it walking? When is it running or hyperinflation? Okay, remember those rates. Fine. The other type of inflations based
Sir,
on,
why is inflation needed? Like, sir, you said like creeping inflation is important. Why is it important, sir?
yeah, we'll come to that. Please hold on. Just give me a few minutes to complete this part. Then we'll discuss why inflation is important in an economy. Okay. All right. So the other inflation can be based on scope. Okay. What are the types of scope for inflation? What are the type of inflation based on scope? The first one is structural inflation. Okay. When structural rigidities in an economy such as supply bottlenecks, poor infrastructure, or inefficient markets, which is very, very common in countries like India, when these structures causes inflation, that is called structural inflation. For example, in Manipur right now, there is rise of prices of basic commodities. Why? The products that are going inside Manipur are expensive now. Why? Can anyone tell me?
Sir, because no one tries to export it to Manipur.
No, people are going actually. The main reason is the highways are blocked. The highways are blocked. Highway is what? Supply line, no. The highways are blocked by groups, different groups. So whatever little they're getting, it's been sold at higher prices because there is demand for food, there is demand for oil, fuel, right? So that is why supply bottlenecks. These are structural inflation. This type of inflation, when prices go up in some areas because of supply bottlenecks, poor infrastructure, or there is inefficient market, these are structural inflation. Okay, these are called structural inflation. For example, why some things in interior villages of West Karbi Anglong, a bottle of water can go up to 50 rupees also, because there is no market and there is poor infrastructure. Okay, if you climb to Tumjang Peak in Dima Hasao, on the peak they will sell a bottle of water for 15 or 20 rupees extra, like 5-10 rupees. Why? Because there is no market out there. People have to carry on their backs. Okay, that is why. So that is structural inflation. The second type based on scope is administered price inflation. When government decides to raise the prices of goods and services, whatever it controls, for example, fuel, electricity, railway lines, or railway fares, that is administered price inflation. For example, the prices of fuel in India as of now is administered price inflation also. Okay, because the government is putting that price. Okay, it is increasing the price because it can control fuel. Okay, my question to the government, and you also should ask, if Russia is willing to give us oil for cheaper prices, if other countries, we are trying to get oil, fuel from other countries apart from West Asia, why is our price still high? Why is our oil prices still high? If Bhutan can sell it, which by the way they get it from us, okay, if Bhutan can sell it at a lower price, why are we still paying so much high prices? So it is administered. They are controlling the prices. Okay, they can control. So that is administered in price inflation. Okay, and the third type is imported inflation. Imported inflation means when domestic prices rise due to an increase in the price of imported goods. Okay, that means our currency is depreciating. For example, what is the value of $1 into rupee? What is the value of 1 rupee or $1 in India?
Approx 100.
Approx 100, right? Approx 100. Now, when we buy McDonald's, okay, when we buy McDonald's, actually people in America, they eat McDonald's because it is cheap for them, because it's $1, okay, or $2 or $3 at the max. All right, it's a cheap way to feed their tummies or feed their stomach. Okay, if they have to buy, like, for a proper cooking, if they have to buy meat, buy vegetables, rice, or whatever they eat, like, it goes up the prices if they have to calculate. So they prefer to go to these fast food chains or restaurants where they can get food in $1, okay, in $1 or two. Now in India, a burger, that too veg burger from McDonald's, how much does it cost according to you, if you have tried McDonald's?
I think 150, 200.
Yeah, 150 to 200 rupees, okay, because it has been priced in alignment with US, because it's a US company, right? Now in 150 to 200 rupees, either you can eat McDonald's in India or you can eat a thali. Which one would you prefer?
Thali.
So why is this difference? Okay, why is this difference? So when depreciation of your money happens, okay, when these are imported, I'm not saying the goods, I'm not saying the burger itself is imported, I'm saying the company is a foreign company working in India, so they are in alignment with their parent country, right? So that is why our price in all this fast food chains like KFC, McDonald's might not be very cheap for us. Okay, might not be very cheap for us. If you're a rich man, family, of course that is cheap for you. But I'm saying in a general way, it might not be cheap for us, because 150 rupees to 200 rupees, we can buy some vegetables, we can get a little bit of chicken also, and one poa of chicken, and cook a meal for ourselves at home, right? So this happens when prices rises in a country because of the price of imported goods or any company, MNC, or depreciation of our currency, okay, or when our currency goes down. All right, fine. So these are the types of inflation based on three classification: causes, speed, and scope. Okay, any confusion on this? Any confusion on this? Prince, any confusion on this?
So not here, but the above things I didn't understand because I couldn't see anything. I will watch the videos. I will watch your recorded video.
Okay, fine, good. All right, so read the document. If you don't understand, you can always rewatch this video to understand. All right, so now we will move on how we measure inflation in our country. Okay, this is very important, how we measure. So there are two main indices that we use. Okay, one is called the Consumer Price Index, or CPI. Okay, CPI. And another one is called Wholesale Price Index. Okay, that is WPI. So these are the two methods, these are the two indices, index that we use to measure inflation in India. Okay, first of all, what is CPI, or Consumer Price Index? That is, CPI measures the change in retail prices paid by whom? Consumers, for a basket of goods and services. So whatever you pay for let's just say you buy clothes, you buy shoe, you buy food, so all those in retail prices, and the change, whatever changes happens in that retail prices, okay, that prices that you pay is Consumer Price Index. Okay, so just in simple words, whatever changes in retail prices, retail means what? when the shops change the prices. For example, today the shirt was 100 rupees, tomorrow you come it is like 125 rupees. So there is a change of 25 rupees, right? So there is a change of 25 rupees. So that is consumer price index. All right. On the other side, wholesale price index is change in wholesale prices of goods traded in bulk by producers and traders. Okay, so what was the key word in consumer price index? Consumers. In wholesale price index, the key people are producers or business traders. Okay, the traders, the producers. When goods and services, or not good services, when goods are traded in bulk, and the change in the wholesale price is called wholesale price index. For example, 5 kilo of potato in wholesale, you got it for like 100 rupees, let's just say 5 kilo of it. Tomorrow, because of the inflation in the country, because of the war in Ukraine, Russia, then Iran, Israel, US, because of these wars, the potato prices went up to 200 rupees per 5 kilos in wholesale. So there is a jump of 100 rupees in the wholesale prices. Okay, so that is called wholesale price index. Okay, let's understand what are the components of consumer price index. In the basket, this basket of goods, they have mentioned, no, the basket of goods are there, of services. So in the basket of consumer price index, what are the things that are considered for calculation? Number one is food and beverage, almost like 46% major component of this consumer price index. Housing, which is calculated for 10% of it in the basket. If a basket is 100%, out of that 46% is given to food and beverage, 10% is given to housing calculations, fuel and light, that is at almost 7%, clothing and footwear that consumers buy, that is given a weightage of 6.53%, and rest, health, education and transport are there. So these numbers you don't have to remember so much. Okay, these numbers you don't have to remember, but what we have understood that consumer price index major basket components is food and beverage. Okay, food and beverage is given maximum weightage because consumers buy a lot of food and beverage. Okay, that is why. On the other side, wholesale price index has basket components of primary articles. Okay, 22%, almost 23%. Fuel and power, 13%. Manufactured products at the highest at 64%. Many manufactured products are at 64%. Now remember one thing, one difference you have to remember is wholesale price index. In wholesale price index, we do not include services. Okay. In consumer price index, we use both goods and services, but in wholesale price index, we do not use services. So please keep this in mind. Services are excluded in wholesale price index. Okay, wholesale price index. Now consumer price index and wholesale price index have
primary articles की है?
Primary articles means raw materials. Okay, anything raw materials or anything before manufacturing, whatever things are needed for those manufacturing. All right, those are primary articles. Fine. Any
Yes,
more?
sir.
Okay.
No, sir.
Okay. Fine. So primary articles can include even food also. Okay, food articles like your paddy, rice, like raw materials basically. Okay, they can also include minerals. Primary meaning the source, the raw materials that are needed for manufacturing. Okay, fine. Now both these indexes has a base year. Can anyone tell me what is a base year? Base year, what is a base year?
So from which we calculate real GDP?
Yeah, real GDP you calculate, yes, but base year I think I have mentioned that it is the reference point. Okay, base year means reference point. From this year For example, huh? So this base year is like a reference point, okay, reference year. From this 2012, we will calculate the consumer index for next 10 years, 15 years, like that. Okay, it's a reference point. Okay, it's a reference point, right? Now, base year of CPI used to be 2012. Now this has changed. Okay, CPI's base year has changed to 2024, meaning it was base year 2011-12. It is now 23-24. Okay, so please mark this down, base year. On the other side, wholesale price index is still the same. Okay, wholesale price index base year is still the same. So this can be asked in a very confusing way. The base year of CPI is 2011-12 as well as wholesale price index. No, wholesale price index base year is still the same. Okay, still the same, but we might see this change in few months more, like maybe this month or next month we might see the change even in wholesale price. So please keep looking at current affairs. If you see this word wholesale price index has been changed, the base year has been changed, so please change it here also in the document. Okay, fine. Consumer price index is measured or published by National Statistical Office, which is under Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. Very, very important. Who publishes consumer price indexes? Very important. Ministry of Statistics. On the other hand, wholesale price index is published by Office of Economic Advisor, which is under Ministry of Commerce and Industry. So very, very different industries. Ministries. Okay, very, very different. So this also can be asked in a statement to confuse you. Okay, then what is the significance of consumer price index? It is Reserve Bank of India's primary target for monetary policy since 2014. Since 2014, RBI has been using consumer price index to change or to modify their monetary policy. Okay, to implement their monetary policy, they have been using consumer price index. Why they are using it? They say consumer price index truly reflects the cost of living for common people. That's why they are using CPI. On the other hand, wholesale price index is used by producer or at a wholesale level. It is only used for business decisions. So for Adani, Ambani, Tata, wholesale price index matters. Okay, wholesale price index matters. For us, for you and me, consumer price index matters, because on that basis RBI will make some monetary policy. Okay, now consumer price index calculates your all things, rural, urban and combined. It is covered all across India. What is consumer price index, Prince?
So the prices that are determined directly from the consumers when from shops for
Consumer
the
price
common people.
Consumer price index is the change in what? Change in what prices?
Consumers prices, sir. I mean
Retail prices. Retail. Keyword is
retail,
retail.
yes, retail prices.
Okay. Who publishes consumer price index? Vaishali.
Also, National Statistical Office.
NSO. Okay. Which is under which ministry?
Statistics
Okay.
and statistics.
Okay. Fine. So CPI, now we understood CPI. What is CPI? Okay. What is CPI? We know already. CPI means consumer price index. If you look at the screen or your economic survey highlights the document I sent. Now CPI is headline inflation. What is headline inflation? Quickly, if anyone remembers.
Headline inflation is the inflation that is the headline inflation. That is the headline inflation. That is the headline inflation.
What is headline inflation? Quickly, if anyone remembers.
1%. 1%. 1%. 1%. 1%. 1%. 1%. 1%. 1%. 1%. 1%. 1%. 1%. 1%. 1%. 1%. 1%. 1%. 1%. 1%. 1%. 1%. 1%. 1%. 1%. 1%. 1%. 1%. 1%. 1%. 1%. 1%. 1%. 1%. 1%. 1%. 1%. 1%. 1%. 1%. 1%. 1%. 1%. 1%. 1%. 1%. 1%. 1%. 1%. 1%. 1%. 1%. 1%. 1%. 1%. 1%. 1%. 1%. 1%. 1%. 1%. 1%. 1%. 1%. 1%. 1%. 1%. 1%. 1%. 1%. 1%. 1%. 1%. 1%
What was headline inflation?
Sir, all the goods and that are all included, sir.
Yeah, all components are included to see the total inflation of a country, right? So CPI headline, that is Consumer Price Index headline inflation, is at 1.7% according to economic survey between April to December 2025. All right, now it will be a little higher, but since when the economic survey came, it was 1.7%, which was the lowest ever recorded in CPI series. It was down from 4.6%. Okay, 4.6% in your previous financial year. Why? What was the reason? It was driven by lower food prices, okay, due to good monsoon and higher production. Remember, what was the percentage of food basket in CPI? Can anyone tell me what was the component weightage of food?
Food and beverages.
Yeah, how much percent?
47.
Around
47
47%. Yeah, 46-47%. So last financial year we had a good monsoon, because of which we had higher production. Okay, and because of this higher production, the supply was more than the demand, so food prices went down. Okay, food prices went down, and because of this food prices going down, our consumer price index also, the change in consumer price index also was low. Okay, was low, and because of that our headline inflation was at low at 1.7%. Understanding the relation now?
Starbucks কৈ দিব নেকি?
Okay, quickly. Last financial year we had a CPI headline inflation of 1.7%. That is consumer price index headline inflation at 1.7%, which was the lowest ever recorded CPI, okay, in the country. It came down from 4.6%. So inflation, headline inflation was at 1.7%. What was the reason? Because the prices of the food prices went down. Why? Because of good monsoon and higher production. Okay, the supply was more than the demand. Okay, to sell their products, the farmers had to bring down the prices, because of which our consumer price index, that is the change in the retail value, okay, the change in the retail prices were also lower, and because of CPI being lower, our headline inflation was also low. All right, was low. So the relation here is consumer price index gives us what? Why do RBI uses consumer price index? It gives us the cost of living for common people. Okay, cost of living for common people. It helps the RBI to manage inflation. All right, it helps RBI to manage inflation. If CPI is high, you will definitely see that, like, you know, there is a lot of inflation in the country. Okay, fine. Understanding the relation?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so if these indexes are high, we have a problem in the country. Simple as that. We have an inflation in the country. All right, high inflation. All right, so they are directly related because they measure inflation directly. Okay, consumer price index, wholesale price index. Okay, they measure inflation. That's why. Okay, so these are the two indexes. There are other indexes also, other short one called producer price index, PPI. Okay, this measures average changes in prices received by domestic producers for their output. Okay, now we have not used it completely, this producer price index. We have not used it as of now, but this June maybe 12, 13, 15, please look up for this word also alongside wholesale price index. If this one comes in, then wholesale price index might go down. I mean, they might not use wholesale price index anymore. So please keep looking at this word. Okay, so producer price index, again talking about producers. Okay, talking about producers, not consumers. All right. Then there is another measure called GDP deflator. Okay, GDP deflator. GDP deflator measures the average change in prices of all new domestically produced final goods and services in an economy. Okay, GDP deflator measures the average change in prices of all new domestically produced final goods and services in an economy. All right. It is a broader measure than CPI or WPI, because CPI only looks at consumer point of view. WPI looks at the wholesaler or trader's point of view. But GDP deflator looks at overall goods and services produced inside a country. Okay, that is why it is a broader measure. Okay, that is why it is a broader measure. Okay, fine. But important here for this year's prelims is consumer price index. We will talk this because the new consumer price index series have come up. First of all, they have changed the base year from 2011-12 to 23-24. They are also using the latest survey on household consumption expenditure survey to 23-24. This new CPI, Consumer Price Index, includes more products and services, especially digital services. Now, if you look before, what are the components? Food and beverage, housing, fuel and light, clothing, footwear, all this were there. Now they have added digital services also. What are digital services? Your Netflix, your, all those things, okay? Digital services, all right? Why this change was needed? Because the old CPI was based on spending patterns from 2011 to 12. So it has been how many years? More than 15 years, okay? More around 15, 16 years already. So the old consumer price index was invalid in present times, meaning we are moving technologically ahead. We have a lot of things technologically, like digital services. We have theaters on our phones now, like, we can watch movies on phones and all those things. So these were not counted in 2011 and 12. Now consumer spends where most of the time? On phone. If you need anything in Guwahati now, everything is easy. You just blink it, or Swiggy, Zomato it. So all these services were not included in the previous one. So they have put in this new change. Okay. So what was the reason of the change? People are seeing higher income. We are seeing a lot of urbanization. We are also seeing spendings on housing and services. People are spending on housing and services, meaning you look at Guwahati city, so many flats are coming, meaning people from all across Northeast are buying housing, and as well as getting services on housing, like rental services and all those. And the growth of digital economy is also the reason why the old CPI was needed to be changed. Okay, now we know who implements it. Ministry of Statistics, okay, which is the nodal ministry. Fine. So in the basket, apart from all those food and beverage and electricity and all, it has increased to 358 items from 299 items in the previous basket. Now it has been increased to 358 items. So just remember the numbers. All right. Now they have this house rent index in the basket. Now this rent index includes rural areas also, no longer only in cities or urban areas. It also includes the rural villages also. Okay, villages also. Fine. Digital prices are included, like your OTT subscription, your telephone plans, your online airfares, and other e-commerce prices. They are also added into this. So like I said, digital services are included. Some of the changes happen is they have lowered the weightage for food. So food was how much percent before?
46.
Around 45, 46, 47%. Now it has been reduced to only 36%. Okay, weightage, 36%. Why? It is following Engel's law. Remember this? Engel's law says as income rises, people spend a smaller share on food. Is it true? As your money rises, you will spend smaller share on food. That does not mean you stop eating. It just means that you're spending less on food. Okay, you're spending less on food. Okay, as your income rises, you have more money to spend on other things. All right, fine, fine. They also have given higher weightage to housing. So housing was how much percent last time? Housing on all this? Around 10%. Now it has been given up to 17% importance. Okay, 17%. Then more weightage has been given to education, your health, transport, communication also. Okay, and finally we have online and digital services, part of the inflation measurement. Okay, that also is included. All right, that also is included. So why did they reduce food weightage? Why did they reduce food weightage in the basket? Simple, because food prices are often volatile. That means they fluctuate often because of weather, because of supply issue and all those nonsense, right? So lower food weightage means headline inflation will be less affected by such shocks. Okay, that means inflation will not measure so much on food prices because food prices are volatile, right? Food prices are volatile. So headline inflation, that is the total inflation, will be less affected by such shocks. Okay, this is important because this gives us a better inflation measurement. All right, it helps RBI to make better decisions, meaning there is less distortion from temporary food prices spikes. Okay, it improves monetary policy decisions, and it will reflect India's economic transformation from food-based spending to housing, services, and digital consumption. Okay, housing, services, and digital consumption. Fine. So in one line, I can say the new CPI series updates India's inflation measurement using new data from housing consumption expenditure survey and includes services like digital, increasing the weight of housing and services because more income is there, and reducing food weightage in the index of CPI, okay, in the basket of CPI, providing a more accurate reflection of modern consumption patterns. All right, modern consumption patterns. Any confusion in this?
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, apologies, sir. Sir, I won't be able to attend the whole class because I have some repairing work to get it done, sir. The laborers have come.
Yeah, okay. We are almost finishing only, so you can go ahead.
Okay, sir. So thank you.
Yeah. So, any confusion on this inflation and measurement of inflation?
As of now, no confusion, sir, but there is too much of information, sir.
Yeah, there is too much of information. Yes, it is true. So
Data.
take your time with this document. Okay, take your time with this document and just go through it once. Okay, just go through it once. And the monetary policy also, I'll give it together. Tomorrow we'll discuss the monetary policy because I know it is a lot of information, like uh, lot of definitions you have to remember, a lot of changes that have taken place in this. So quickly, I'll just summarize. Inflation means when prices of goods and things go up and purchasing power goes down. There are certain types of inflation based on causes, speed, and scope. Okay, there are certain type of causes, speed, classification on like call causes, speed, and scope. So this you'll just read it once and try to understand. Okay, fine. And how we measure inflation in India, we use two indexes, that is consumer price index and wholesale price index. Now I have discussed what is consumer price index, what are the things inside the consumer price index that is calculated, and what are the things inside wholesale price index that is calculated. Okay, we have done that, and we just touch why the change has taken place in the base year. Okay, Not only the base year, a lot of things have taken changes, in your consumer price index, particularly with the basket, with this weightage of these things. So food prices went down in weightage, housing went up, right? They have focused mostly on health, education, transport, plus they have added digital services in the new CPI series. The reason is very, very simple, because 2011-12 base year did not calculate all those things, and because of that we were losing a lot of information on proper inflation in the country, because we were not counting digital services and all those increased spending by consumers. All right, so those are the things that we have touched. The impact of inflation, you can read it directly. There is positive as well as negative impact. So inflation is not always bad, it is also positive. Like for example, when you have mild inflation, okay, what is mild inflation? Called creeping inflation. Okay, how everything is written here, you can understand while reading this. Okay, so please read this document properly, and we will discuss monetary policy tomorrow. From tomorrow we'll discuss monetary policy and money supply. Okay, fine.
Yes, sir.
So please read this document. I have already sent in the group. So kindly read and come tomorrow. Otherwise your head will start paining in economy. Okay. Okay, I'll see you later then.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.